Hey, what's up everybody? We're going to be doing the quick video on the heart today. We've got a heart here, human heart model, not a real heart. And might as well take off the stand. Don't need that. So we got our heart here, we got the anterior surface. We can see the apex of the heart, the tapered end down here. We flip it around, we can smack it on the base right there. So got our big blood vessels coming out of it, got a lot of stuff to do. The anterior surface here and the posterior surface, what we're looking at is the outer layer of the heart, which is called the epicardium. If we flip open one of the chambers, any chamber, any of the four, we look at the lining. The lining in there is the endocardium. And if I take off the front of the ventricles, put it in my pocket, we can see the muscular middle layer in here as well, which is the myocardium. The myocardium is the interesting one. It's the one that does all of the good stuff. So those are our basic layers. And while we're in here, we can see two of the basic chambers, one, two. We've got a right and a left ventricle. Look how thick the wall is on that left ventricle. Kind of thick on the right, not nearly as thick. These are our two pumping chambers. We have a big interventricular septum in between them. We also have an atrium up here. This is the right atrium. Atria are the receiving chambers of the heart. If I turn the heart a little bit, we got our left atrium right here. And we can open him up as well. There we go. We can see inside. We got the inside of the left atrium too. All right, let's kind of follow the flow of blood through the heart. Okay, we're going to start with the right atrium. The right atrium is going to get deoxygenated blood. It's going to get deoxygenated blood from a couple blood vessels. We got the big superior vena cava right here, from structures above the diaphragm. We got the inferior vena cava down here, structures below the diaphragm. And we've got our coronary sinus right here, which is draining the blood that is feeding the heart wall itself. So all of those guys go into our right atrium. The right atrium has a little flappy part right here called the right auricle, which can get a little bigger if more blood comes back to the heart. You can let it expand a little bit. If we flip this guy open, there we go. We can see some muscular ridges in here. These are called pectinate muscles. We can also see a depression. This is a depression called the fossa ovalis. Can we get that? There we go. Lovely. Yeah, so the fossa ovalis right there was once a hole. It used to be a hole called the foramen ovale when it was in the fetal heart, so that blood coming into the right atrium could skip the right ventricle, because that's not really necessary when the fetus is doing its gas exchange at the mom's placenta. All right, where was I? Let's keep going. Let's go down. So we're going to go from the right atrium down into the right ventricle. Here's the right ventricle. The right ventricle is the pumping chamber for deoxygenated blood. It's going to move blood into the pulmonary circuit. It's going to move blood into the lungs. We can see some broken strings here. They should not be broken, but they get a little used. These strings are called chordae tendineae. They attach to these valve flaps. I don't know if we can kind of get in there. We can see some flap-like things. And these flaps make up the tricuspid valve. And so when blood accumulates and fills up in the right ventricle, the wall starts to squeeze, the muscle starts to squeeze, blood tries to go upwards, but these valve flaps in here slam shut. They're not very well engineered valves because they could flip upward. Luckily, we've got these chordae tendineae, which anchor them. The chordae tendineae themselves are attached to this bulges of muscle like this one. This is a papillary muscle. Now, also in our right ventricle, if I get the front piece back and I take it off again, try and hold everything in my hand here, we can see some muscular ridges. These are called trabeculae carnii, which is the longest term for all the heart stuff, so it's the most likely to be on your exam. And what else? Let's keep going. Put that right there. No, put it back in my pocket. So from the right ventricle, when it's squeezing and blood tries to go back up, and can't because this valve shuts, eventually the ventricle will generate enough pressure to force blood to go up into this big blood vessel right here. This is the pulmonary trunk. The pulmonary trunk is going to come up, and branch into a pair of pulmonary arteries. If I turn around, we can see those two right there. Pulmonary arteries are going to go to the two lungs. And there is a valve right here. This valve right here is the pulmonary semilunar valve. You can see three of its flaps. Note it does not have any chordae tendineae. It does not have any papillary muscles associated with it. All right, so why don't we call that a wrap for this first video on the heart, and then we'll make another one for the other side. See